Make them sing this cheery song. Keep the home fires burning while your hearts are yearning.
tears add to their hardships as the soldiers pass along. Although your heart is breaking, they can sing this cheery song. Keep the home fires burning while your hearts are yearning. Though your lights are far away, they dream of home.
All otherwise indisposed, Mr. Mayor? Speakman is attending...
Not to worry, our shorthand writer has arrived. Or has this lovely lady come to make us tea?
Mrs. Beatrice Draper, Greenwich Board of Guardians, pleased to make your acquaintance.
No relation to Councillor Draper, the socialist milkman.
I am the socialist wife.
Mrs. Draper is on the tribunal list.
And she has willingly answered the call to offer her services. Now, what is the procedure and protocol? Are these the papers to read?
The business needs to be quick. We turn our cases around in 6 minutes. Schultz here will summarise the application in less than 1 minute. Do you think you'll be able to keep up? Applicant in questioning in less than 5?
Sounds like you've been successfully manufacturing speedy, conscientious objector trials.
That's why we have these sand glasses. A 1-minute glass and a 5-minute one. We're vying with the tribunal and Battersea. They have the record. 50 5-minute hearings within one sitting. Shall we begin? Jeremiah Hubert Spencer. He runs the local gentleman's outfitters and needs further exemption for his last remaining tailor, Charles Webb.
I cannot carry on the business without Mr. Webb.
What makes you say that, Mr. Spencer?
I'd rather not.
Answer the question, please.
Hands and eyes. No good anymore.
Have you seen a doctor?
Can't afford a doctor.
They seem fine from where we're sitting.
You don't cut cloth all day.
But we do understand the need to cut cloth according to one's needs.
Eyes no good too. Can't cut cloth according to my needs and can't afford the candles.
Have you no children in the business?
Yes. No. I did.
Well, time to bring them back into the family phone.
He's dead.
I beg your pardon?
In the retreat from Mons. He's dead. My son. Killed on active service.
We are indeed very sorry for your loss, Mr. Spencer.
Won't bring him back, will it?
You could employ an apprentice.
Have done. 2 juniors. Both gone. Both enlisted. All the apprentices are joining the services. Better pay in the munitions factories.
Well, surely this is work women can do.
If I were a ladies' outfitters. But I'm not.
You say a woman couldn't do the work.
A woman can sell some things, but when it comes to measuring a man's...
Yes. I can't see why you can't employ women, even when we men need to be fitted in those intimate regions of the personage.
If a gentleman asked you for a pair of pants, could you not yourself supply the particular customer?
I have no way to keep going should we lose the services of Mr. Webb.
I think we might give Mr. Spencer a little more time to find another man.
He's had all 3 months, and we can't say this business is essential in the national interest.
Look, what would really happen if you lost this man?
What do you think?
Would you be so kind as to tell us how many dependents you're responsible for? Please, Mr. Spencer.
My wife, my son's widow, and my grandchildren. There are 3 of them, aged 7, 5, and 2.
Considering Mr. Spencer's position in the borough, how long he's been in business here, his age, and the fact that he's lost his only son, I think we might give him a little more time.
We may have many more cases before us which involve more serious hardship than this.
Maybe we should give him a month.
We can grant your man 1 more month's exemption, but no more. And please be advised that any further appeal from you, Mr. Spencer, will not be favourably considered. Good day to you.
Well, I think we've done some good here, did we not? Next. Mr. Harry Haskett, painter and decorator of 10 Arbinger Road. His grounds are rather unclear, but include exemption because he has a subcontract in respect of cottages for munitions workers. He is a conscientious objector and a vegetarian.
You say you're a vegetarian?
Oh yes, it all goes together, doesn't it? Being conscientious, objecting, and being a vegetarian.
Well, Mr. Haskett, we're not looking for cannibals to eat the Germans. We just want men who will fight.
It's the same thing.
Not necessarily.
Your conscientious convictions, Mr. Haskett, how long have you had them?
For as long as I remember.
We need evidence of how long your memory is and of how reliable it is.
Well, 14 years if you do insist.
And what is your religious denomination, sir?
I believe in God. And God says, thou shalt not kill.
Are you a Christian, Church of England?
No, the other lot.
You mean the Free Church of Deptford?
Yeah, that would do. I believe in freedom.
But I am the president of the Free Church of Deptford. And you
If
are...
the Germans came to Deptford and started knocking your mother about, what would you do?
Would have a hard time finding her because she's buried in Chatham.
What if the Germans started knocking you about or your friends?
Listen, mate, I'll be out of here a long time before them bloody Germans come along.
Watch your language. There's a lady present.
Is there anyone dependent on you?
Yeah, my old father. from Telegraph Hill.
Suppose the Germans got into Deptford secretly without your knowing.
Right. And how'd they do that then?
Land in the dockyard in the middle of the night, overcome the guard, or land by Zeppelin. Suppose the Germans came to Deptford and attacked you and your property.
They wouldn't. They'd attack your property, mate, Mr. William Wayford, factory owner in Deptford and landowner in Kent. They got a lot to come after you for, mate. You and that lovely big house you got yourself in Monk's Halton, and your lovely big farm. Anyway, I should take my father out of here.
Where would you take him to?
Somewhere a lot nicer than this dump of a borough.
Then you're prepared to let others fight for you?
They're not fighting for me, they're fighting for you! And all your money and your privilege and your fancy clothes.
I take it we're all agreed?
Oh, yes, Mr. Big Rich Mayor, if you say so. And you hope them other two say so and all, don't you?
I think we do say so.
Your appeal is dismissed.
What about my conscientious objection? You ain't even heard it yet.
Yes, we have. It is dismissed.
No, it is not dismissed. It's gone before a higher tribunal than any of you, and it is my conscience which must be obeyed.
Well, you'd best take your conscience away with you.
Do you know what, love? You'd be a lot nicer if you had one.
Don't be abusive, or we shall call the constable.
Don't worry, I'm going anyway. Good riddance to the lot of you. Bloody parasol. Profiteers!
Ah, the absolutist from Brockley.
Mr. Albrow is a conscientious objector. He is also a socialist, a moralist, and a member of the Church of England, although he is opposed to the Church's doctrine on the justice of war. He is employed at the local post office branch in the role of sorting clerk.
What would you do if, say, a German postal clerk were to rape your mother?
Oh, goodness gracious me. I should trust in God.
And send for a policeman.
No, sir, I don't think so.
You say in your statement that you used to be in the Church of England, but no longer agree with its Christianity. Isn't that a contradiction?
Oh, yes, it is, but such is the way of life in God's world, is it not?
Does your body belong to God?
I still believe that it does. And so I cannot connect it with any military system.
But that is contrary to the teaching of the Bible.
Not the version I've read and understood.
Wars and military operations have always been carried on, and successfully carried on under the direction of God.
Not in the New Testament.
But that is so in the Old Testament. Don't you believe in the Old Testament?
I've moved on from the Church of England. These matters are both political and religious.
Mr. Albrow, as a socialist and a Christian myself, surely Jesus Christ would have been content to serve in a non-combatant unit.
You cannot be in honour of life and wear the uniform of an institution whose sole purpose is to kill. In the eyes of God, you're either a soldier or you're not.
Suppose an unfortunate man was wounded on the battlefield. Would you be willing to carry him to hospital?
I would willingly help any man, but I could not conscientiously do so whilst connecting myself with a military system.
Sir, I'd be grateful if you could explain Numbers 32, verse 6. Shall your brethren go to war while ye sit here?
Well, look, I can't explain anything without knowing the context.
You come here professing to know the Bible. It is in your hand, is it not? And I'd be glad to know if you could explain, vengeance is mine.
Ah, yes, vengeance is mine, saith the Lord, not man's. Whatever you or your tribunal might say, nothing can alter God's law. Thou shalt not kill.
It's not be done, man! Go and fight!
I will not, thank you very much.
What if a German rushed at you with a fixed bayonet?
I don't think I'd know what to do.
What kind of man would allow a German to rape his mother? Are you really that kind of man?
I would gladly receive a bayonet instead of her, or my wife, or my child, or even you, sir. But under no circumstances would I take a life to save a life.
The point is in the implication of your beliefs. If the only way to save your mother were to kill a German, would you still let him kill her?
Yes. If I could not persuade him otherwise with argument or the expenditure of my own life.
You ought to be shot.
If necessary.
Just how far does this go? If a man came and violated your sister, would you not give in evidence against him?
Undoubtedly, unless it led to that man being hanged or executed by firing squad.
So if the crime carried the capital penalty, you would not tell the magistrates here what you saw?
That would have to be my position, yes.
If you would not exert yourself to defend women and children from being murdered, then I think you're just as responsible for the lives of those women and children as if you'd taken the lives yourself.
Hear, hear.
It's not the same thing.
Supposing the government found you a place on a minesweeper, that would be saving lives.
Minesweepers are only allowed to sweep the German mines. They're not allowed to sweep the English mines.
Continually sweeping Germany's mines might stop the sinking of 2 boatloads of children on Sunday.
And other mines will be laid to sink other ships.
Allbrow, when we come to measure you as a man, as you describe yourself a Christian.
A dissident Christian, Mr.
It's all right, dissident Christian then. Moralist, socialist and trade unionist. We have, ringing in our ears, the cheers of thousands of people in Deptford who only a few days ago were outside this very building celebrating our local curate, Edward Noel Mellish of St. Paul's. He was, and still is, willing to risk his life for his principles. And here we have a man of the ministry who went to France to serve as military chaplain, who over 3 days on the most horrific ground of military carnage, under machine gun fire, went out into no man's land repeatedly, and without assistance brought back 10 wounded men. And then he went back and brought another 12 from another battalion, not even his own. He received the Victoria Cross. That modest, charming, quiet and peace-loving man offered himself as a model for moralism, a model for humanity. Don't you look up to men such as him?
I admire the Reverend Mellish. I had the honour of taking Holy Communion from him in St. Paul's before I saw the Church of England as part of the greater capitalist conspiracy, of course. But this is all a plot to enslave the working classes and allow our bellicose and corrupt leaders to use us all as cannon fodder in their evil game of war that has nothing to do with God or Jesus Christ. I was out there on the pavement when the Reverend returned. I saw the crowd chanting his name, patting him on the back, but I would not be afraid to say to him here, or any of the other brave Christians recovering the broken bodies of the working classes from the battlefields, that they are just as exploited as the poor, wretched men they rescue. Mrs. Draper, you say you are a socialist, a Christian, but you betray your people by sitting on that tribunal and judging my religious and political conscience. You are a political hypocrite. How can you be part of this sham?
This is the coming together of our country, Allbrow, not hypocrisy. I'd prefer a socialist with a gun and bayonet any day to a lily-livered conchi waving a white flag to the enemy.
The war against the Kaiser's regime is as much a war for the Labour people and socialists as it is for the Conservatives or Liberals. Are we not fighting for the refugees, old men, women and children who were massacred?
The first thing that suffers in war is truth. But every man is my brother, including the Boche. There are men in Fleet Street right now concocting vile lies about the Germans. And you know it. It is to their lasting shame. especially since many of them have never seen the German or the trenches. Might I remind the tribunal there is a biblical quotation, "Put up your sword. Those who use the sword perish by the sword." Today, the conscientious objectors, although numbering many thousands in this country, are still a minority. That will not always be the case. Our beliefs are shared by men of all nations. And one day the civilized world will look back on the objectors to the great European war as the only sane people of their time. Meanwhile, those professed Christians who traded their faith for popularity will be remembered as having sold their souls to the devil.
These tribunal proceedings are to be adjourned for the time being. There's been a telegram for Mrs. Draper from the War Office. Open the curtains and let some light in. Wait outside, sir.
Ah, Reverend Mellish. Good to see you. I've asked him to come back and help out with the military tribunal. He was our only son. Just turned 18 last November.
Do we know how?
Went up with the Queen Mary at Jutland. Over 1,200 officers and men. All gone.
Is there any chance?
No, I don't think so.
God. Another mother lost her son.
It's a haunting symphony. Tears right through the heart.
It is good of you to come all the same.
Yes. But Padre, I've mentioned you to one of the Anglicans. Perhaps having a Victoria Cross holder and army chaplain as our military representative can be a source of inspiration.
Let's adjourn the tribunal. Perhaps we can just administrate Allbrow into some non-combatant duties. If he appeals, then all this fuss can be for another place.
Indeed. Don't think there's any point to letting this drag out.
Allbrow's hearing shall proceed.
Schultz, we're in no position to disrespect Mrs. Draper's demand. Shall we get on?
Close the curtains, please.
Albrow, I've been reading your statement, and I find your conceit astonishing.
Well, I was striving for sincerity, not conceit.
Your struggle here is an achievement of the latter and not the former.
I do wish to express
Your sheer excess of pride?
I wanted to offer you my condolences.
Accepted. But what troubles me, Mr. Albrow, is the flight of fancy in your claim for absolute exemption.
It does not trouble me.
More's the pity.
You pity me, then?
And despise you. This is all pretension, this double game you're playing. So the state commands you come here, and you obey. What for? To grandstand? To play upon the stage for Henry Rivet Albrow? And then you presume to defy us and the state that is your sovereign country, your people who employ you, who feed you, who protect you. This indulgence disgusts me.
I do not mean to disgust anyone. Especially you, madam.
Yet you dare to call me a hypocrite. So the state is your master and protector, and at the same time, when it suits your pleasure, and your own inner cowardice, you claim the voice of God, which can speak, or does speak to those who listen. What a delightful convenience.
I can assure you.
You can assure me of what? That your Christianity is superior to mine? That you're a better socialist than I am? How dare you?
Christ's love of all mankind transcends everything.
Christ's love of everyone is not the singular vanity that is you, Mr. Albrow, although I must say it does need to transcend your own self-regard and forgive your insufferable blindness.
War cannot be reconciled with Christ's gospel of love.
I grant you that for 200 years after Christ's death, Christians would not and could not be made to take up arms, and they were hated and despised for that selfishness. When Constantine reconciled the church and state, it was then that Christians could follow the true gospel, because they could fight for the love of Christ. The love of Christ is receiving and giving that which we hold dearest. Where is the sacrifice in your gospel of love? I know mine, and as a woman created to carry life, I now carry death in the very core of my being. The love of Christ means I am reconciled with the war against evil. When you fight evil, it consumes and destroys as much as it liberates and protects all that is good in this world. That is the sacrifice, the price we have to pay as Christians. And that is so much more noble than the self-exaltation of you. A pathetic man. A pathetic man who is always saying no. I look at you and I see nothing. That is what you are. The foul and despicable taste of absolutist nothingness.
I'm so sorry.
Perhaps we should proceed to judgment.
Perhaps we should. There's nothing more to be said.
These tribunal proceedings are adjourned for ruling. All upstanding.
Parjo's here, you can discuss it. I'm sure he'll sort it out. Parjo usually does. At ease, Padre. My dear Padre, I think you could be of great assistance here.
Perhaps by discreet intervention at this stage.
I don't think it's in our interest that this trial should proceed to its inevitable conclusion.
We can't be sure what Mrs. Draper is going to do. It is obvious that Allbrow is in bits. It's all rather pathetic.
The trick here, I think, is to regain some sense of manly dignity.
What exactly is it you want me to do?
We're sure that you can persuade the young man to withdraw or compromise his application for absolute exemption.
The Friends Ambulance Unit? He would do very well there. He's got something of the aggravating Quaker about him.
He clearly holds you in high regard, and you can convince him that he can stay true to the gospel by accepting the bandage as his weapon.
If you think that'll help.
That's the spirit.
You'll do brilliantly.
Henry.
I'm lost, Padre. What could I do?
You've said all that you could.
I tried to imagine what that poor woman must be going through. What if a Zeppelin raid killed my wife and my baby son? She's right.
Wouldn't say that.
She can see my true face, and it is the face of a man that I could never respect. To think I was spouting all that, every man is my brother.
These things had to be said.
It was all so hollow. Loathsome.
She was just seeing the man, the men that killed her boy.
But I might as well be the one who killed him. In her eyes, I'm responsible.
In a way, we all are.
So, this is to be my trial, is it? I'm the war criminal who never put on a uniform.
And won't. But yes, you are the lightning conductor.
And do they meet me to decide my sentence?
Perhaps. They've told me to help you find the right path.
And what path would that be?
I don't know. Perhaps just the path that you want to take.
And what about you? What path would you choose?
I've chosen my path. I couldn't say it's the right one. They think I can convince you to put on the King's uniform. You know, as a non-combatant.
And can you?
haven't the foggiest. Anyway, I'm not going to.
You're not.
No. See, of the two men in this chamber, you are much more the man of faith than I can ever be.
No, I can't believe that. I haven't been to France. My faith hasn't been tested. But you have, and that's how it works, isn't it?
You know it's funny that. Since getting back here, everyone else seems to know a lot more about that than I do.
Mayor Wayland has great things to say about you, you know. You're the padre that defied bullets and shells and saved lives with a Bible under your arm. Amazing.
I'm sure he means well by all of that. But you know, it really wasn't anything like that. Can't exactly recall what happened. I've blanked it out, you see. It's just noise and nonsense. Flashing lights. Horrible, horrible noise. They asked me what happened. Honestly, I can't remember. I don't want to remember. So I made it up.
But the people you saved, surely...
Yes.
Surely they
say, isn't it? But this cock and bull story of courage.
No, Padre, you saved lives, and that is a great thing to do. Especially in times of such madness.
Madness. Yes, that is the right word for this.
And you conquered fear.
No. You see, I'm more frightened now than I ever have been. If you speak of courage, of fear, it's the soldiers you should be talking about. Those Royal London Fusiliers. Day after day of the same old grind. Only true brave men can do that.
And that makes me a coward, does it?
Never think that.
Others do.
Yes, well, others are wrong.
What you did took real courage. Your Christianity, your pocket prayer book, your Bible.
Yes. They remained in my pockets. Such weapons, but I never took them out. How could I, with a man on my back? It's all moonshine.
Well, can I have a look at them?
I'm sorry. It comes and goes. Would you mind?
Of course, yes.
Rather embarrassing, really. I'm obliged.
Oh, you've got a few markers in here. Elohai,
Elohai, labach sabachthani. My God, why hast thou forsaken me? That's what he said, isn't it?
Well, that's what who said?
Jesus, on the cross, when the sky went dark. What I'm saying, Henry, is your faith in your defiance, your refusal to fight. That's what will save you. You see, my faith is gone.
Oh. No, I can't believe that.
Look, have you got a picture of your wife, your son? Have you got that?
Yes.
Would you show me? They're beautiful.
Well, thank you.
Look after these images, Henry. You don't want them corrupted. When the man next to you is cut in half by shrapnel, when his shit, his bile, his blood sprays into your eyes, your mouth, your ears, your nose. The more I blow my nose, the more I smell it. The same for brushing my teeth, for spitting. You see these demons? They live in here forever. Tapeworms from hell. I'm sorry. I shouldn't have you. You didn't want to.
No, look, I'm sorry, I should. Why don't we take a look at your prayer book instead?
Yes. Do change the subject to something a little more cheerful.
Right. Well now, here's a well-rubbed page. Go forward on your journey from this world, Christian soul, in the name of God, the Father that created you, and in the name of Jesus Christ, who suffered for you. But I can't read towards the end of the page. There's a stain.
And the name of the Holy Spirit that gives you strength. Amen. You see, I've said that one many times.
And the stain?
Must be sacramental wine. You know, that prayer reminds me of Sergeant Riley. I'd like to sing Cockney rhyming songs, did Riley. I don't want to join the army. Do you know how that one goes?
No, I don't, but I should very much like to hear it.
I don't want a bayonet in my arsehole. I don't want my bullet shot away. I'd rather stay in England, merry, merry England, and fornicate my bleeding life away. And then whoosh! And that was it. I was just holding his hand. I was giving him balance as he crossed the trench. See? Feel that strong, living hand of a man. And the next thing I knew, sheet of flame. Flamethrower. Dreadful. His hand disintegrated, dissolved into... I had a plate of it.
A plate?
First thing they offered me, right here in the chamber. Plate full of Sergeant Riley's barbecue hand. What is it they call them? Dates wrapped in bacon, burnt to devils on horseback. What they are as well. Devils. All of them. Here. You have to take these.
Why?
When I got to France, I was nothing but an idiot in a dog collar with a Tommy's helmet too big for him. And now I'm back here, and it's so much worse. You know, they got my boys from my youth club. They lined them up, they gave them uniforms, they gave them rifles. Some of them are 9 or 10, barely scratching, 4 foot high. They had them welcome me home. Nothing makes sense here anymore. I need to get back to France, back to my Fusiliers. Please, take these. Look, you have your faith. Mine's gone. Please, use them, Henry. And good luck. God bless you.
I returned to the Western Front and tried to save lives and give comfort to the London Fusiliers. They awarded me a military cross for my actions, but for the likes of Henry Alborough.
Decision of the Deptford Military Tribunal, 18th of August 1916. Henry Rivet Alborough. Application for exemption under the Military Service Act 1916.
Faced persecution and ignominy.
Application for conscientious objector status. Refused.
Thousands went to jail. They even sent Henry with some others to France in a vile plot to have them executed on the front line. I was among a group of people who did our best to cover their backs. Though we could not stop poor old Haskett from being shot in an abattoir. Or the good Mr. Webb, who was killed in action, causing Mr. Spencer's business to collapse. Mr. Spencer died from a stroke shortly afterwards. All of his stock was seized by creditors, and his family were evicted from their home. But the war is over, and another one is just beginning. And with it come new trials.
Absolutely marvellous. That can come back and be of service. We really dished it out to the countries in the last show. And now we can give them a good hiding. Now we have to do it all over again.
I'm afraid a lawyer from the National Service Office urgently needs to speak to you, sir.
Very well. Send him in.
The National Service lawyer, Sir William.
Yes. How do you do?
Yes, Allbrow's the name. From the new tribunal secretary.
Name's familiar. Have we met before?
Allbrow. Do you have much to do with the law? I've been prosecuting in these parts for the last 10 years.
I was sentencing for a long time at Greenwich Police Court. What can I do for you?
Well, I'm afraid, Sir William, it's more a matter of what I've got to do to you. You see, all conscientious objector hearings have been placed under the control of the Ministry for Labour and National Service.
You seem to forget that I'm a member of Parliament. I was knighted for recruitment services.
Yes, in the last war. But I'm afraid all of this has been misconceived. It's a different war now, and a different system.
Oh, this is nonsense. Well, surely you realise how essential I am.
I'm afraid you've been disqualified. You have criminal convictions. 1920, for running an illegal lottery.
A piffling fine of 3 guineas.
And the more recent fine for allowing a bonfire to go on burning in your fields at night.
It was only £1.
It lit up the Kent countryside for miles around and led the Luftwaffe straight for London for a bombing run that cost many, many lives. I'm afraid all the trials you've held in the last fortnight are invalid. Your order's quashed. Mr. Scott here has my warrant from the Lord Chancellor. He'll show you all the relevant paperwork. Now, I suggest you return to your hop farming.
I'm a former mayor. I've got friends in the War Office. They'll be furious when I tell them what's happened.
won't be needing those. Let's put those to one side.
So you are Miss Madeline Evelyn Draper, born 14th of March 1914. That makes you 27, yes?
Right. You are, you went to Oxford and are now a social worker.
It's not a reserved occupation.
You reject any form of military, industrial, or humanitarian service that could aid this country's struggle against Nazi Germany and fascist Italy.
Anything connected to war cannot be humanitarian.
Most fascinating.
I'm sorry?
We've read your statement, Mr. Rapper, but would appreciate it if you were to explain it for us in your own words.
I'm a Quaker, inspired by the late Benjamin Walker. Mr. Walker taught me that war is un-Christian. War cannot be reconciled with Christ's gospel of love. And if war could kill war, it would have done so long ago. And if all the leading Christian nations followed the teachings of Christ in their foreign policies, all wars would cease. They do not. The answer lies in conscientiously opposing everything and anything that destroys human life.
We're not fighting other Christian nations, though, are we, Miss Draper? We're fighting total evil.
You, sir, are fighting. I am not. My family has already made the ultimate sacrifice. My brother died at Jutland, and he was only 18. My father died soon afterwards from a broken heart.
We would not challenge the integrity of your conscience, but these are matters of necessity.
And there's no need for a woman to go to jail for
her ideals. You share our common purpose in the national struggle.
We are a united and dedicated community, are we not?
We all exalt and respect life.
Women all over the world have but one passion and vocation, and that is the creation and preservation of human life.
Well, of course. I mean, we can always marry and have children. And then the National Service Act would no longer apply to you.
That's not what I meant.
Oh, we fully understand the conceit of what you meant.
You know, it seems to me an act of violence that you refuse to wear the fire warden's helmet.
Such an act of omission in the context of war is not violence.
How can you go on living in England when there are soldiers, sailors and airmen risking their lives for £1 a week? Your salary is professional and comfortable, is it not?
How can you accept so many pounds a week for judging my conscience?
Please, we are not judging that. We are trying to determine the measure of your
hypocrisy, your arrogance, your insouciant pride and self-importance.
What does your conscience have to fear? You don't have to be drilled on the promenade.
You know, even in uniform, as a woman, you have a choice whether or not you bear arms.
I don't appreciate the inverse discrimination.
There is so much that you could be doing in the civilian national service. With your expertise, what about settling refugees? The tragic persecutions could hardly have escaped your attention.
Or indeed your compassion. This is hardly the demonized, no-courage core of the last war. Well, such work is spiritual, is it not?
Look here, Miss Draper, we don't want to send people like you to prison. Can you pay the fine?
I can, but I'm not prepared to.
Would you be willing to pay it if, we say, 5 shillings a week?
This is not a game. Stop making excuses. My generation lost all the young men who meant anything to us. A great war? It was anything but. Humanity is nothing unless it is civilized. And that civilization means we must restrain the beast of social and political passion within us. If we must fight, let us fight for life, for the enrichment of the human soul and the exorcism of all the ghosts of war. Let us turn the anger of mankind into the raising of human consciousness. Let us build a community of peace. I will not pay the fine. I cannot pay the fine. It is the principle I object to.
Do you have anything more you wish to say?
Nothing.
Mr. Scott, any thoughts?
Well, I think at this point there is only one correct course of action.
I agree. There's only one thing we can do. Please stand for our ruling. It will be short and serious. Madeline Evelyn Draper, we have gravely considered your application for registration as a conscientious objector. It is clear to us that you will do nothing that you perceive will aid or comfort anyone, even loosely connected with military matters. You are stubborn. Your presentation and position are provocative. Some might go as far as to call you an extremist.
Indeed.
You give and hold your opinions with smart and overwhelming tenacity. It is, therefore, our unanimous opinion that we must grant you an absolute exemption on the grounds of your conscientious objection to armed combat.
Sir,
That is all. You may go.
You're not sending me to prison.
Oh, no. You're free to go.
Sir,
You're not going to fine me.
No.
there's another course of action that can be taken.
It's finished.
Yes, Miss Albrow.
Kindly give our regards to your mother.
Tears add to their hardships as the soldiers pass along. Although your heart is breaking, they could sing this cheery song. Keep the home fires burning while you're though your lads are far away, they dream of home.